Welcome back to our Lenten Bible study on the Gospel of Mark. We are close to the end of the Gospel. We are in Mark chapter 15, and on the next page, the Gospel comes to an end. However, when we began this Gospel, we began by asking who really is Jesus. And everyone in the Gospel, whoever we have seen in the Gospel, some of them have got a glimpse into who Jesus is, but no one really has understood who Jesus is. Today, Jesus will be crucified, and yet we will see that no one really has understood who Jesus is. And so keep that at the back of your mind as we read the text. Another thing that we should keep at the back of our mind as we are reading this text is Jesus goes through all of this because he loves me and because he loves you. Okay, these two things let's keep at the back of our mind as we begin reading. Mark chapter 15, verse 21. They compelled a passerby who was coming in from the country to carry his cross. It was Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus. Jesus has been scourged, and therefore he is physically too weak to carry the cross. And this points to the brutality of the scourging. Now, this is the first time we have been introduced to Simon of Cyrene. We've never seen him in the text. However, his sons are mentioned here. That indicates that his sons were well known in the early church, and therefore they are mentioned in the text so that whoever is listening to the text or whoever is reading the text may associate who was Simon of Cyrene that helped Jesus to carry the cross. Now, the Roman rule was this: a civilian could be forced into service. A Roman soldier could come and ask someone to do some work, and they would have no choice but to do it. This person, Simon, may have just been returning from work, just passing by. Maybe he has heard of who Jesus is, the miracles that Jesus has done, that Jesus has cleansed the temple. He's heard of the exorcisms, he's heard of the calming of the sea, the multiplication of loaves, and therefore he stops by to see what is happening to Jesus. Why is he being crucified? And he stops there with the hope maybe to look at Jesus. But the Roman soldiers catch hold of him and they make him to carry the cross of Jesus. Now, there was one person earlier who was told to carry the cross of Jesus. Mark chapter 8, verse 34. Jesus tells Peter, "Take up your cross and follow me." He tells the disciples, "Take up your cross and follow me." But they are unwilling to take up the cross and follow Jesus. And now you see here Simon of Cyrene. He has no clue who Jesus is. But now he is forced to take up the cross of Jesus and to follow Jesus. Very often we think that we must choose discipleship, but sometimes discipleship is imposed upon us, and that is the mercy of God. Always we think that grace is gentle and polite, but here you see that grace interrupts the life of Simon of Cyrene. It violates his plans. He possibly wanted to go somewhere. Let me point out a possible area of pride in our lives. We think often that we have initiated the desire to follow Jesus, that we have come to church, that we have done all these good things, and now that we are following Jesus. But the truth is this, that it is God who pursues us relentlessly. It is God sometimes imposes in our life discipleship. Have you prayed to the Lord? Lord, I am willing to follow you no matter what. Have you prayed to the Lord? Lord, lead me. Have you prayed to God, asking the Lord to show you the path? Maybe sometimes we have prayed that, Lord, invade my will and make me your disciple. Are you facing something difficult in your life at this point in time? If it is yes, that is God's will for you. God is taking you through. God has given you the cross. He's only asking you to continue to follow him. Simon of Cyrene carried the cross and continued to follow Jesus. Okay, let's read ahead. Verse number 22. They brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. You can see on your screens that the place that they crucified Jesus, on top of the hill, that hill looked like this skull. You can see those two eyes possibly and a nose over there. A place like this would have easily been recognized by everyone, and therefore Mark makes its mention. Okay, verse 23. And they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. Wine mixed with myrrh was a mild anesthetic. It was so that if you receive it, it reduces your pain, it numbs your pain, it also numbs the mind a little bit. And Jesus would refuse to take it because he wants to consciously enter into the will of God. He had an option, that is to escape the pain and to detach from the physical reality of the pain. But he would not choose it. He would choose the other option. Instead of escaping the pain, he would embrace the real pain, fully conscious in his suffering. Jesus is not simply putting a tick mark to escape the cross. It's not like sometimes we come to church and say, we have done our Sunday moral obligation. No, no. Jesus is not just putting a tick mark, because if he had to just put a tick mark, he could have taken the anesthetic, he could have taken the wine mixed with myrrh, but he will refuse to take it. Why? Because he wants to deeply enter into human suffering. He deeply wants to enter into our pain, into the human condition, into the brokenness of humanity, and heal it from the inside out. And we shall also continue to see this further. But before that, we live in a culture of anesthesia. We want to escape our pain by various forms of distraction. We want to escape our pain with pleasure. We want to escape our pain through maybe food, through gluttony, through gossip. We want to find ways to escape our pain. We also want to find ways to escape trouble, anything that causes us difficulty. We also want to find ways to escape our responsibility. But here the Lord is showing us, teaching us, we must take the choice of Christ, fully embrace what the Lord has placed before us, even embracing its pain. Because Christ has showed us that redemption requires presence, not escape. Verse 24. And they crucified him and divided his clothes among them, casting lots to decide what each should take. The second half says they divided the clothes among themselves. Now, when they say divided the clothes, very often we think that they just removed the outer garment. If we imagine Jesus on the cross, all the pictures of the crucifix, we see that something has been tied around the waist of Jesus. A cloth has been tied around the waist of Jesus. Now, that is the gift of the artist. Most historians agree that people were crucified on the cross naked. They had no clothes on them. And the intention of crucifying someone naked on the cross was total dehumanization, was shame, was agony. Like, you're naked, hung on the cross, can't do anything. It was supposed to be, the cross was supposed to be not just pain, it was supposed to be torture, physical, mental, emotional. And therefore, we can say that Jesus went right into the depths of our pain. He knows what our agonies are. This has got to be love, that Christ will be stripped naked only and only because he has loved. This should also point us back to the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, the moment Adam and Eve sinned, they realized that they were naked. It's not that they were not naked until they sinned, they were naked. But before they sinned, when they looked at the other, they didn't look at the other with lust. They looked at the other with love. They were willing to give of themselves freely for the other. But when sin entered their lives, brokenness entered. And now, when we looked at the other, they realized that that person no longer looks at me with complete love, but that person looks at me with lust. They want to use me. And this problem of using the other for our glory, for our benefit, has continued from Adam and Eve right to this very day. And you see, someone has to reverse it. And so Jesus will reverse it. On the cross, he will go naked. A total self gift. Jesus has come down from heaven. He's come down to the cross. And even on the cross, he is so humiliated. He has come to the lowest point of human brokenness. Why? Because from here, he will be able to pick us up. Okay, the verse says, as the verse begins, it says, and they crucified him. Mark here is strikingly brief. He finishes it in 3 words. They crucified him. 2 reasons can be given. The first reason, everyone reading the text knew how agonizing a crucifixion is. They have seen crucifixions. The Romans, some of those people are being crucified themselves. So they know how agonizing the crucifixion is. Second reason, and the more important reason, it is not about how Jesus died. It's not about how he suffered, but it is about Jesus and why he suffered. Okay, let me put it like this. It is not how much Jesus suffered that saved us. No. What saves us is how much Jesus loves. Let me repeat that. It is not how much Jesus suffered that saved us, but how much Jesus has loved that saved us. It is not at all about the pain that Jesus went on the cross. That is important for us to only understand how much Jesus loved us. What does this love of Jesus do? The love of Jesus once again clothes us in glory. This is a direct fulfillment of Psalm 22:18. They divided my clothes among themselves, and for my clothes they cast lots. Christ will allow himself to be stripped so that we may be clothed with glory again. And therefore, as I told you in the start, don't focus on just on the facts of Jesus' crucifixion, the pain that he went through. Rather, focus on how much he loved you and what he wants to give you, what he wants to give me through the cross, his glory, his love. He wants to fill us with his mercy, his peace, his joy. He wants to restore us back to the sonship, to the daughtership of the Father. Okay, let's complete. Verse number 25. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." Now, this charge, Jesus, King of the Jews, is meant to be mockery. But once again, we see the mark in irony here. They are trying to mock Jesus. However, what they are saying is true. Unknowingly, the Romans will become prophets. They will speak the truth without faith, without understanding, without intention. They will intend to mock Jesus, but they will unwillingly, unwittingly proclaim the exact reality of who he is. Verse 27. And with him they crucified two bandits, one on his right and one on his left. This is a fulfillment of Isaiah 53, verse 12, which says he was numbered with the transgressors. Now, who are these transgressors? These bandits. They are those who have caused or attempted an insurrection. They have tried to overthrow the Roman Empire through force. They have attempted to be the messiahs of the Jewish people. And so now Jesus, the true Messiah, is going to be crucified besides two people who wanted to be the Jewish Messiah. They will attempt liberation through violence, but Jesus will attempt liberation by surrendering to the Father. For the bandits, their goal is political rivalry, but the goal of Jesus is to enter into the human sinful condition and redeem humanity. And we can also see the results. The one who tried to conquer the world from the outside failed, but now Jesus, he will try and heal the human condition from within, and he's the only one who will succeed. Here we need to be very careful with our theology. Often we say God punished Jesus instead of us. Jesus took our place on the cross. Well, that is true, but it's not the entire story. As I've been saying from the start of this teaching to this very moment, Jesus didn't just take our place. Jesus entered into our human condition. He entered into our human pain to heal us from the inside out. And therefore, it is not just sufficient that Jesus died on the cross. It is amazing that Jesus did that. But what is essential is that we open our hearts to Jesus so that now he may enter into our brokenness, that he may enter into our pain, that he may enter into our insecurities, that he may enter into our fears, that he may enter into our anxiety and heal us from the inside out. That is only possible if we spend time with Jesus. The more time we spend with Jesus, the more we open our hearts to receive him, and the more he can enter into our hearts to heal us from the inside out. Those who passed by derided him, shaking their heads and saying, "Ah, you who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." In the same way, the chief priests, along with the scribes, were also mocking him among themselves and saying, "He saved others, he cannot save himself. Let the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross so that we may see and believe." Those who were crucified with him also taunted him. Put yourself in this position. Keep the story of Jesus out of your mind just for a few seconds to understand what Jesus may have really gone through. You have the power to come down from the cross. Jesus has the power to come down from the cross. He has the power to heal himself, and yet Jesus will not come down. What luck Jesus didn't come down. Everybody taunted him. Everybody tried to poke at him. You saved others, save yourself. You can't save yourself. What kind of Messiah you will be? You said you will destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Prove it. Come down from the cross. If you come down from the cross, we will bow down and worship you. Very often people give reasons, they give excuses as to why they don't follow Jesus, and then they will say, if Jesus does so and so thing, we will follow him. The truth is, even if Jesus does that, they will still deny him and ask for more signs. And here we see the people are asking for sign after sign. What luck Jesus did not come down from the cross, because if Jesus had come down from the cross, he would have saved himself, but he would not have been able to save us. And this is the mercy of Jesus, that once again he is being tempted as he was tempted in the wilderness. In the wilderness, he was tempted, saying, if you are the Son of God, do this, prove your power. Once again, he is tempted here, prove your power. What luck he doesn't try and prove his power. This is love. It is only love that kept Jesus hanging on the cross. If he saved himself that day, if he proved himself that day to those standing down there, he wouldn't be able to save us. He wouldn't be able to love us the way he loves us now. Now let's go back to the very start of the lesson. I said no one understood who Jesus is. Jesus is here on the cross. He is hanging on the cross. And for everyone standing there, it looks like a failure. They had such great expectations from Jesus, but Jesus is hanging on the cross. He is just a few minutes from his death, and he's in pain and agony. He's being dehumanized on that cross. Everything in this scene shows that Jesus is powerless. Everything that can be seen with eyes points to the fact that this man cannot be God himself. This man cannot be the Messiah, because the messianic understanding was a conquering Messiah. Now, the question once again to you and me, if we see Jesus like this, if you and I would have been there at the foot of the cross, would we have thought that this man is the Son of God? And I think we can fairly say no. This is because the masses had not yet been converted. The opponents of Jesus, the Romans, were still undefeated. He was not able to save himself, and his dignity was lost. And so I leave you with this question. Imagine yourself for the rest of the day at the foot of the cross of Jesus. We've gone through the whole of Mark. Now think about this. Standing there, would you have believed that that is the Son of God? Okay, till we meet tomorrow. Tomorrow we shall see the death of Jesus and maybe the burial, depending on how time permits. That is verse 33 to the end of the chapter. Until we see you tomorrow, may God bless you with abundance of rest. It's a Sunday. Enjoy the rest in the presence of the Lord. Enjoy the Sabbath. Pray for me, and we will pray for you. God bless you.